First in war, first in peace, first in the hearts of his countrymen. George Washington, the first president of the United States, who's been held up ever since as a model of American statesmanship. He's so number one, he's on our $1 bill. Born on February 22, 1732, George Washington was raised on the banks of the Rappahannock River in Fredericksburg, in the British colony of Virginia. It was there as a boy, as the story goes, that he chopped down a cherry tree. And when his father confronted about it, he admitted to the deed, saying, "I cannot tell a lie." While there's more myth than fact to the story, it does represent a personal integrity that Washington exhibited throughout his entire life and which shaped the United States. We do know, as a teenager, Washington worked as a surveyor and as a young man served in the colonial militia. In May of 1754, Washington was involved in an incident south of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania that ignited the French and Indian War, known globally as the 7 Years' War. It ultimately led to his surrender at Fort Necessity that July. The following year, he was with a military column marching through that same area when it was ambushed. When their commander was killed, Washington successfully rallied the survivors so that they could evacuate. Another important event in Washington's life during the war years was his marriage on January 6, 1759, to Martha Dandridge Custis, a young widow. Washington settled into a life overseeing his large farm in northern Virginia, Mount Vernon. In the years leading up to what became the American Revolution, Washington opposed the Stamp Act, and he joined in calls for a Continental Congress to protect the right of colonists. Delegates elected him to be commander of all Continental forces, who were even then laying siege to British troops trapped in Boston. Washington sealed the victory in Boston in March of 1776, but later nearly came to grief in battles outside of New York that summer. At the very end of the year, he regained the momentum with a pair of stunning victories outside of Trenton and Princeton in New Jersey. Continental fortunes would go up and down over the course of the war, including a brutal winter at Valley Forge in the winter of 77-78. But through it all, Washington's leadership held the men together, ultimately culminating in a war-ending victory at Yorktown in 1781. Washington's experience during the war helped him appreciate the value of centralized authority, and so he supported an effort in 1787 for a constitutional convention to create a new workable national government. And then in 1789, he was elected the first president of that government created by the new Constitution. It was nearly a foregone conclusion because he was so popular, and his personal prestige did much to serve as the glue to hold the new government together. The political divisions of the 1790s frustrated Washington deeply, and after 2 terms as president, he decided to retire. He could have been president for life, he was so popular, but his choice to voluntarily retire and support the peaceful transfer of power became one of his most important political contributions. In December of 1799, as he was inspecting his property, he caught a cold, and his condition deteriorated rapidly. 2 days later, on December 14th, 1799, he passed away. He's buried at Mount Vernon. George Washington devoted his entire adult life to the service of the country he helped create. Although today we think of him as a monumental man, it's important to remember that his life and legacy offer leadership lessons that we can still learn from today.
To stay up to date on all the latest and coolest videos, please subscribe to the Trust's YouTube channel.